A lot of people have been asking for Law & Order SVU. I thought that was old news, but apparently they brought it back. Didn't know about that. So, finally getting around to some episodes of Law & Order SVU. Let's see what we got.
This man says he saw what happened. Well, I didn't exactly see it, but I heard the commotion. I looked out and I saw the ambulance. I live up there, 3rd floor.
What's your name, sir?
Ron Polikoff. I know Myra. Is she okay?
She says she was. You know anything about that, Mr. Polikoff?
She's going to say I did it.
Okay, so interesting that the police officer just starts sharing information right off the bat before he even really figures out why this guy is asking him questions. And he says, yeah, he knows her, but not sure that's going to go along with most police their tactics. Yeah, let's see what's going on. Bum, 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 bum. One of the most famous intros of all time, for sure.
Do I have to take everything off?
Yes, I'll take that. Stand on the paper. Put your clothes in the labeled bags. I'll collect them later.
I showered before I left my apartment. Does that matter?
The Lumilight can still show traces of body fluids.
Well, Ron called me.
All right, I've got to point out, he's volunteering for an exam already. He just admitted that they did, in fact, have sex. He says, she's about to accuse me of rape. How does he even know that? Why would he be submitting to this test is my biggest question. Because I think all that it could possibly do is find her DNA on his clothes and his DNA in or on her, and only strengthen her argument that she was attacked. Whether it's consensual or not is always one of the biggest questions when it comes down to one of these cases. And so it probably won't prove that. I don't know what else they're going to collect in these. I don't work these kinds of cases, but once again, I can't see volunteering for that kind of exam as being a good thing. So it'll be interesting to see where the writers are going with that.
All right, what's that?
Illumilight detects any body fluids on the skin. It won't hurt.
I'll get the light.
Okay, get your arm out of here.
So I do know the forensics nurse evaluations are legit, not just for these types of cases, but for almost any type of assault case, especially I've seen them used in strangulation cases. I have seen ER doctors and nurses say, oh yeah, no signs of strangulation, and then these forensics nurses actually do their examination and say, yeah, absolutely, tons of signs of strangulation. I have seen all kinds of different doctors and nurses miss things that, the specialized doctors and nurses see. So, not to say anything bad about ER doctors and nurses or anything like that. It's just when you have a speciality like that, you're going to look for the specific signs and you're probably going to see more of them. The argument against it, of course, is does that mean that to a hammer, everything looks like a nail? Or in other words, to a forensics nurse, especially one that specializes specifically in assault, is everything going to look like a assault?
Look, my wife left me 9 months ago, and I was lonely, and I wasn't thinking straight. And this Myra, she came at me like a bird hits your windshield. And I just went off the road. I crashed. I mean, you felt that way? You think you're in control, but you're not?
We've got everything we need now. We'll wait for the lab results, compare statements, and decide if we have a case.
Going off of just what we've seen so far, he is just absolutely trying. Okay. She, of course, is claiming to be a victim, which at this point it looks like probably, I'm guessing, I don't know what the writers are doing here. It's fictional, so it's hard to tell who's lying. Everybody's lying because it's a TV show, right? They're all acting. Okay. But it looks like the writers are trying to convince us that she was in fact attacked and that he is trying to explain away every single injury on his and her body to try to make it all, yeah, this is all consensual, this is all fine. How do you actually have evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that it was not consensual in a situation like that? That's why these cases are so difficult, and a lot of times people end up saying, oh man, that guy committed an assault and ended up walking. Sometimes they do. It's very sad because they can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that whatever occurred wasn't consensual.
That's him.
Really? Okay, thanks. That was Warner. The fluids on Myra's silk teddy match Ron Polikov's blood type.
Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not laughing about the topic of the show, okay? Please understand that. What I'm laughing about is getting DNA results back or anything like that. Even very basic, like alcohol level in your blood, right? BCA results. BAC, excuse me. BAC results. Even very basic stuff like that, depending on the jurisdiction. I know that if I have to go to one of the municipalities here in the East Valley, that if the blood work is necessary for the case, I'm going to be waiting for months. 2 months minimum, usually more like 3 or 4. In fact, they've actually dismissed the case against my clients sometimes because they say we're not just going to have the case sitting around waiting in the pipeline, and it takes so long to get those blood results back. So they'll dismiss the case, wait for the blood, and if it comes back negative against them, in other words, there's blood alcohol over 0.08, which is the legal limit here in Arizona, or they find THC metabolite in there and they were driving with marijuana in their system or meth or whatever, they find that, they refile the case. But these results take so freaking long to get back, and they want us to believe that they came back in 30 minutes.
This time I understand she smashed a cab window with a bottle?
She was distraught.
She was drunk. And I know this because my client was with her when she got us up that way. He didn't force her to drink or to have sex. Let me know when you drop the case.
Better look at the list.
Every defense attorney in these shows is just over the top, which is just kind of funny, but it's like, yeah, you really need, the cops are the heroes, right? And so you have to make somebody the villain. Who's the villain? Well, it's obviously the suspect, but who else? The defense attorneys. Oh, we hate those guys. All right, that's fine. We'll play the villain.
We don't have enough evidence.
My client's rape kit isn't enough. Bruises, bites, contusions, strangulation marks on her neck.
That could have been caused by rough sex.
Victim's attorney is stepping in here trying to say, hey, why haven't charges been brought up yet? I've been in this situation too. That's a tough one to be in. It's not one that you can really force. You can't just tell the prosecution you have enough evidence and you have to move forward with it. You can't just tell the cops your investigation is over and you have to turn it over to the prosecution now. You can't do any of that. And even if you tried, it wouldn't do you any good.
That explains why Scary's threatened to go to the media if they don't make an arrest.
So I just wait.
Skip the arrest. Bring an ex-indictment to the grand jury. Present the evidence and let the jurors decide whether there's a case.
It's an interesting choice. Yeah, I mean, indictments go to grand juries all the time, right? Indictment is just saying, is there enough evidence to charge this person? And the grand jury sits down and just says, yes, we think there's enough evidence. And it's such a low bar that almost every single case just goes through, right? It's like people describe probable cause as about 25% sure. You just got to be 25% sure that there is enough evidence to charge this person. So it's such a low bar, you put it in front of the jurors. If there's an officer that says, yes, we did an investigation, we did it well, and we do think that there's enough evidence, almost every time they'll say yes. So it's a good way to get it through for the prosecutors in this situation.
I don't remember.
Let me refresh your memory. Detective Stabler gave you a ride home, helped you to your door. The next day you claimed that he had touched you inappropriately.
Again, I'm sorry, I'm not chuckling about the topic of what they're talking about here. I'm chuckling at the fact that they think that an attorney would just be allowed to say, let me refresh your memory. No, you could say, oh, well, would looking at your testimony refresh your recollection? Do you think that looking at the officer's report would refresh your recollection? You know, you can ask questions. The attorney can't testify in this situation. So anyway, again, not the topic of the show, just how they're presenting this attorney and presenting to the jury here. So the difficult thing here, and the thing that this show is actually portraying very well, is that testimony in general, in particular from victims, is almost never perfect. Actually, it's never perfect. Testimony from anyone is never perfect. We want it to be perfect, but the fact is these shows portray these victims getting into court for a trial within like weeks. It usually doesn't happen that way, especially for a serious case. They may not be in trial for a year or 2 years even. And so are they going to have a perfect recollection of everything that occurred? And are they going to have a perfect recollection of every word that they said to the police? No, never. And what's going to happen is that somebody's going to get up there and try to spin that, whoever it is. And the same thing for the police. Are they going to have a perfect recollection? No. Somebody's going to get up there and try to spin that. Right? The defense witnesses. You put a defense witness on the stand, the prosecution's going to do the exact same thing to the defense witnesses. So really, testimony isn't what we want it to be. We want to think, oh, there were eyewitnesses and therefore we know. It doesn't always work that way. All right, I got to tell you, pretty heavy topic for this show. Probably not a show I'm going to come back to for these. Just number one, I like to actually have fun with these, and this is such a heavy topic that it's like, wow, I am tiptoeing over this, and appropriately so. I'm not, mocking this topic at all. I hope nobody watching this video was disturbed or, was triggered or whatever. Not mocking that topic in the slightest bit. Really kind of surprised at just how heavy a show that you could have like this on TV and that people are that into it. I never have been myself, honestly. So probably not one I'm coming back to. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong, if you do want to see more of it. Probably not, but I'll think about it. Okay? So, all right. I'll see you next time.